All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. It looks like we have quite a number of participants with us tonight. My name is Becky Guzman. I'm the principal at West Park, and it is a pleasure to join you again. I cannot even begin to tell you how much I wish we were in one of our large venues having this conversation, but we meet on Zoom again, and that's okay. I want to catch you up on a few things before we dive into the logistics. We scheduled this webinar tonight to ensure that you had access to necessary information prior to making the decision for your student to either attend the hybrid schedule, or to stay in our dynamic online learning model. So that is what we are here for. I do want to share with you that if you want to engage in the overall dialogue about school reopening, the venue to engage in that is the district board meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. It is actually going to be live in the Roseville High School Theater or on Zoom. I put the link in there for you to go to the district website to get more information on that. So tonight we're going to be talking about West Park and what we have control over. Our focus is this community. We're going to share with you as much information as we can at this time. I have to remind you that, as you all know, this has been a very fluid situation from the very beginning. And so what I'm telling you now is the best I know now. And so my hope is that it's going to give you the best and most accurate information. We were updating this presentation right up to minutes before we started. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of things, I really want to remind you of where we have come from, what our story is. And so I've written that down a few things. So if you see me looking down, I don't want to forget to share certain things with you, but this was a dream that began for this community over 15 years ago. The earliest meeting notes that I can find are from 2006, from a financial meeting planning meeting that happened at the district. And just like any good story, the West Park story has taken a pandemic, has stood in the way of us opening. Over those 15 years, many community members and educational professionals have poured their hearts into the physical and educational framework of this school. Our resolve to serve students in our community has never been stronger. That hasn't changed. And we want to see students filling these very seats that you're seeing on this video. The story of West Park High School is just in its beginning stages. We are only in the first chapters of the book. Very soon we will continue to add to this colorful examples and legacy building paragraphs in the book that we're writing. So despite the challenges we've encountered, we know that our future is going to be very bright when we get to have students in these walls, and that's what we want to have happen as soon as possible. So to make sense of where we're going, let's talk about what's happened in the past several months. In March, we were all thrown into a very steep learning curve. Students had to attend classrooms in very different modes. Teachers had to teach in ways that they've never had to teach before. And they then again had to shift their teaching as we changed schedules again this fall. And families had to adjust to a new normal. And as we prepare to embrace another shift, I want us to do that in loving to learn together. That's part of our mission statement I'm going to talk about in just a minute. So the hybrid model, which this is a pretty good graphic of, is surely going to have its challenges, but through this we'll continue to learn new and innovative ways to support our students, and I think you'll hear about that tonight. This year, we have faced some really big challenges. Some of us have experienced very difficult circumstances, loss of jobs, loss of loved ones, mental health concerns, and more. Our hearts are with those of you that have endured suffering this year related to COVID. It's not easy for any of us, and we know that some of you have had true hardships related to this situation. But I also want us to remember that when we started all of this, we talked about silver linings despite sadness and struggle. We were out walking in our neighborhoods. I saw many of you. We were eating at home a little bit more and spending time with our families. Let's do that again. Let's find the silver linings when the times are going to be tough. We are here to walk arm in arm with you through this chapter, regardless of how hard hybrid might feel at times. So with that being said, I know that there are going to be questions tonight. So we have created 2 different ways for you to submit questions because we're getting a lot of very student-specific questions, which we want to be able to answer, but this is obviously not the venue for that. We also know that some of you might have general questions that would help the greater good. So we're going to give you an opportunity to do both. Please look at the bit.lys at the bottom of the screen there. The top one is if you have a general question, you can submit that. And then the bottom one is for a student-specific question, and we will have staff addressing those Tuesday and Wednesday via email so that you can have the information prior to making your final decision on the district form that was sent out. We will post this presentation with additional answers to questions by noon tomorrow. So we'll take questions that I may not get the opportunity or the time to answer tonight. We'll post answers for this as well tomorrow. I hope that all is making sense to you. All right. We're going to start, and you'll notice that those question bit.lys are at the bottom of each of these screens. So I'm going to walk through some pretty detailed information. One thing I do want to tell you is we know these slides are very text heavy, but this is going to get sent out, and so we wanted to make sure that everybody has all of the information that they need. So let me start with this. You should have received a hybrid choice email. That email would have come from the district on Friday, September 18th. If you don't have it in your inbox, you can find a link to it on our website or the district website. That is due to the district by the end of the day on Wednesday, September 23rd, this Wednesday. If you don't fill that out to opt into the hybrid format, your student will remain in the online learning format through the end of our term, which is in December. So there's a lot of questions that we've received regarding making this choice. So we want to clear up some of these FAQs for you tonight. One of them is, can I switch after I've made my choice? You can switch in one direction. So if you sign your student up for the hybrid model and find that it's not working, or your student experienced illness or your family experiences illness and you just want your student to stay home for the rest of the term, you can then tell us, you know what, we said we wanted to do hybrid, but we're going to go ahead and move our student back home. That works. What we can't do is the other direction. If you choose to stay home, the way we're splitting up cohorts, which I will get to in a minute, would mean that your student would need to stay at home through December. So I hope that makes sense. In one direction, you can start hybrid and go home, but you can't start at home and come back to hybrid. So if you want to do hybrid, you need to submit that form by Wednesday. The other question that's been asked similarly, most of you are familiar with our 4x4 schedule, which means that we change classes between now. We finished these classes in December, we start new classes in January. So the question has been, am I committing to the spring? No, you are not committing to the spring. Some survey or some form of collection of information will go out again before we hit January. And honestly, we don't know what that's going to look like yet. I think the spring is maybe a best guess right now. And so it makes sense for families to only be making decisions about the fall at this point. The A and B cohorts, the groups of students and how we will be splitting into those is going to be based on alpha, but we can't do that quite yet. So I've had a lot of questions on where we're going to split it, and I don't know yet because we have to determine the C group of students, the students that are going to stay in full online learning first. Once we remove those students from our list, then we will split the remaining students into 2 groups, A and B cohorts. Because we need to keep things even and we need to keep, we have to have some semblance of organization about how students are coming and going and who's coming and who should be here on any particular day. We won't be making adjustments to that. So if you have siblings that share the last name, they will be in the same group. But if they don't share the last name, it's possible they could end up in different groups, but we won't know that split until we get all of the answers from families on Wednesday. This has been a big question and totally an understandable one. So our employees, which include our teachers and the rest of our staff, are afforded rights the same as any other worker in the United States right now through the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And all of our staff are in their own unique situations, and we have to respect the complexity of that. So there will be some teachers that will need to remain teaching remotely based on health concerns and a variety of other factors. Our district is working through that as quickly as they can to determine who that's going to be and how we will make that work. But right now, if you were to ask me a specific question about whether or not a teacher is going to be on campus, I can't answer that question right now. We may get closer to that as the October deadline comes forward, but these things take time. And also, just as a reminder, if we have a teacher that is teaching on campus, show signs of COVID-19 or test positive for COVID-19, that teacher will then not be available on campus. So again, there's fluidity in this as well. Teachers may start on campus and then not be able to finish on campus. So I want to make that clear that there's, even if we say they're going to be here, there's things that might take them out of here. Right now, my best guess is about 25% of our teaching staff will not be on campus. We will have classrooms set up with supervision that will, and it may be parent volunteers, it may be district cleared substitutes that will be sitting with students while they're doing that particular class if their teacher is teaching remotely. So they might go to first period live with the teacher, second period they're in a classroom with the rest of their peers from that class with somebody supervising their class, and then they might go to third and fourth and have a live teacher. It just depends on their schedule what that might look like for them. So I hope that helps with understanding that a little bit more. The answer to this is a resounding yes, and please encourage them to do so. If you choose the distance learning option, but your student wants to participate in athletics or attend an outside of school event that we're able to host that has physical distancing and all the pieces involved, we absolutely want them to be involved. And so, sorry, my lights just turned off. So we do definitely want that to continue, and they are able to do that. There will be ways that they have to clear before they come on campus. There will still be screening tools. They will still have to register because we have to be able to do contact tracing at any event, any practice, any class time. This is the draft, and I want to share that with you as a draft. It's not completely finalized, but the district will be sharing this at the board meeting tomorrow night of what the schedule might look like. We are doing the best we can to not have students have a lot of opportunities to mix, because that's the concern about health and safety, which is our priority. So you'll notice that students will go periods 1 through 4, and then at lunchtime, they will be able to take their lunch and head home. And we have built in a nutrition break. There's a 20-minute break. They will be able to eat and drink during that nutrition break outside, physically distanced from their peers, and have a snack. They will not be able to eat and drink in classrooms because they will need to be wearing their masks in classrooms. So let me share a little bit with you, and I'm not going to go through every detail of this, but I do want to share some of the pieces of our campus expectations. Right now, our staff currently fills out a health screener prior to coming on campus. We will have students filling out a health screener prior to coming on campus, just like our staff does. We are all wearing our face coverings at all times, unless, like I am right now, closed into an office with nobody in here. Our students will be in a mask as soon as they are on campus and until they leave campus, unless they're eating and drinking during acceptable times outside. We will ask them and remind them that they have to keep a 6-foot distance from their peers and their teachers while on campus. We're also going to have hand sanitizer stations set up, and lots of hand washing will be encouraged and required in order to be on campus. I've had a lot of questions about what the classrooms might look like, and this is, you know, a little heartbreaking for me. We did a lot of work, including with your help, to buy the best furniture for this campus where kids can be collaborative and all of that, and it's still going to be here. We just can't use it exactly the way we want to right now. So students right now will be in desks with individual chairs 6 feet apart facing the same direction. It doesn't mean that they can't interact. It doesn't mean that they can't interact with the teacher, but we are going to ask that they keep the 6-foot distancing in the classroom at all times. And the desks will be sanitized throughout the day. The other pieces, they will be told that there is no shaking hands or hugging or engaging in any other unnecessary physical contact, because we don't want them sharing their germs. So those will be our campus expectations. And when you and your student choose for your student to come back on the hybrid model, these are the things that you're committing to be part of with us to keep everybody safe and healthy. So I'm going to stop talking for a few minutes. I'm sure my voice is getting a little bit old at this point. That was a lot of information. I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Principal Kathy Eisenhower. She's going to talk about what daily instruction will look like, and she'll take us through the next couple of slides.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I wish I could see all of your faces. I know that you're there, but we are longing for the day when we'll be able to see you all face to face. Our leadership team is constantly talking about our community here and how much we want there to be a real sense of unity in this community. And so we'll take what we can get right now. It may not be live, but we are very happy that you're with us tonight so that we can share some information that's coming down the pike, so that you have some clarity as we move ahead. So I'm going to talk a little bit about instruction, and yes, these slides are text heavy and we're going to be posting these so you have plenty of time to look at all of the details of this. But when we look at a hybrid model, it's definitely going to be something new for all of us. So we would ask for your patience as we figure this out together. I can say this, and many of you know this if you've been part of our conversations with designing the high school, that we have a vision at West Park for designing superb instruction for students. It's one of our prime directives. We say we value people and we love to learn, and there is a lot to that mission statement that goes into instruction. So I want to share with you that although not everything is perfect with the rollout of a new high school, that we are seeing what your kids are producing in this remote learning model right now. And it is fantastic. What we are seeing is inspiring us. We are talking with our teachers about the level of inquiry that we're seeing. Our students are inquiring about their world. They're thinking at high levels, and they're gaining deep, relevant literacy skills. And it's just been, I've got to sit in some classrooms over the past couple of weeks, and I'm seeing the commitment of our teachers to our kids, and it is inspiring. So we're trying to execute this vision for this superlative kind of instruction, but we are also in the parameters that are set before us for keeping a safe school. And so here we are in the hybrid model. And we would ask for your patience as we work together to figure this out. But what it looks like, that infographic earlier in this slide presentation is a really good example of what hybrid learning can look like. Our teachers will be either on campus or at home, depending on their personal situation. And they will continue to use the same Google Classroom platforms that they have used for quite a few years now. I've watched personally how the use of technology has evolved tremendously in these short 9 months since we've been online together. And so we're looking forward to seeing some real innovation. Like I said, it's not going to be perfect and there will be struggle in it, but that just strengthens our resolve as teachers to provide the best possible experience we can. So we're going to see students in classrooms. If they're in classrooms live, they will still be on a Zoom call. A teacher will have a screen up with the rest of the class for students who are in cohort C and have opted to stay home. And the teacher will be working creatively to design learning experiences for kids where they can collaborate online and still continue to learn at very high levels. That's our dream, that's our hope, and that's what we're investing into. Becky, can you go to the next slide for me? Thank you. And so these, again, are some of the ins and outs of what Zoom looks like. I'm guessing some of you as parents have probably sat in on some of these, so you kind of get a feel for what it is. When students want to raise their hand, if they're live, they can either raise their hand or they can use the reactions icon in Zoom, and they can raise their hand that way. Students will need to have earbuds if they are going to be here live, because feedback can happen very easily on Zoom with many monitors happening, all simultaneously. And all students will have individual access to the teacher. One thing we know about our teachers is that they really, really care about our students, and they will make themselves available no matter what cohort your child is in. So we want to really make sure that you know that you have some reassurances there, that although it's going to be challenging, that our resolve is stronger than ever to make sure that our kids' needs are cared for, because it's who we are, it's our identity as a staff. Okay, some tips for you. These are some things that you can do. And if we can advance that slide, these are some things that I wish somebody would have told me at the beginning of all this. Encourage your kids where they are right now, no matter if they're, about to start attending live or if they're going to stay at home. Really try to be that source of positivity. This can be a challenging time, but they need us. They need the adults in their lives to really help them look at the positive and be optimistic. So we would ask for that. And then ask questions about what they are learning. One of those adages about neuroscience and learning is what fires together, wires together. So if we can get students to talk about what they're thinking, to talk about what's next, what are my plans, what's my strategy for working, that engages their executive functions. And so again, builds a stronger brain capacity for them. So asking them questions like, what's next? What's your plan? How do you think that's going to go? What other things could you try? And tell me about your thinking. How did you get to that solution? Can you explain it to me? So asking those questions will really, really help kids in this formative time in their lives when their brains are growing like crazy. Perfection is not needed. Mistakes grow your brain. And so we embrace failure. We say fail fast and fail forward. And you don't have to be perfect. This is a learning environment, and that's okay. And then we would ask, take a breath as I say this one. Activate compassion and empathy for your child. And I bet so many of you are already there, seeing your kid really trying to make the best of this. And activate compassion and empathy for your teachers. They're in unique situations, and they are working, many of them, through weekends up until 10 o'clock at night because they care so much about our kids. And then finally, activate compassion and empathy for yourself. It is totally okay to say that this is hard. We're going to validate and accept all the feelings, positive or negative, because this is our community and we know that we're stronger together. The last thing is, with your child, celebrate the small wins, because there are small wins. Look for those bright sparks in their educational journey, wherever they are right now, and cultivate hope. We ask, as leaders at West Park High School, to look for the moments where we can come together as a community and cultivate hope for our kids. We're dedicated to that. The last thing I want to say is that our prime directive here is for our students to feel that they belong, to feel a deep sense of belonging. And we know how challenging that has been for so many of our kids right now. And I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Hildebrand, who's going to talk about some ways that we can support our kids emotionally and socially.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. I just wanted to check in, and I'm definitely hearing from parents and students that there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress with online learning. Now the added thing of the hybrid model and just questions and how that all works. And just wanted to really reach out and remind you of how we as counselors and we as a wellness center can really support your family, your student, in making sure that their emotional health is good in this super challenging time. So Every day, your student checks in through an app called Close Gap. And at that point, they let us, myself and Mr. Baines, our other counselor, know how they're doing that day and if they need to talk to somebody. So if your student's having a very rough day or they're having a lot of stress or anxiety, that's an easy, quick way for them to let us know that they're struggling and that they want to talk to one of us. So at that point, we actually jump into Zoom and ask to get put into a breakout room with that student to make sure that they're okay. When we go back to the hybrid model, this will still be in place. And at that point, we can have the student come down here and stay socially distant and masked, or we can go to them in their classroom. So it's just another way for us to make sure that your kids are all okay. We also have set up on our West Park counseling website a way for families to make appointments. Right now, they're mostly for students who are stressed or parents that are stressed and just kind of want study skills or just help kind of managing this whole new world that we're in. So if you want your student to meet with us, it's usually during hub time is when we are making ourselves available. They can just go to the West Park website and log in there and then make an appointment with us. So we're meeting with kids every day. We are making sure that everybody and teachers and students are all completely supported, and we're doing that all the time. The other really big piece to this is our wellness center. So many of you have known and heard about our wellness center from probably way back in November when we started talking to you about it, but our wellness center has already been immensely helpful to our students. So every day we have a variety of staff here that are here to help students on a variety of reasons, but you can have your student have daily, just quick 15-minute check-ins if they are struggling or stressed or just have a quick thing they want to talk about. If you feel like your student is in need of weekly support from our wellness center, you can email myself or Mr. Baines and we can do a referral. There's also on the West Park High School website under resources, there's a spot that says our wellness center, and you can self-refer your student, or if you're a student watching this, you can refer yourself and somebody will reach out to you very, very quickly to make sure that you are seen. The last piece is that we sent out on our Instagram today that wellness is actually starting 3 different counseling groups. I believe that they had the cutoff to sign up is on Wednesday, but there's students with anxiety, depression, and gender support. So we are really committed, whether your student stays distant or if your student comes back hybrid, we are very, very, very much committed to making sure that your students are safe and have somebody to talk to and are taken care of. And we will continue to do so because we value every single one of our Panthers. And I will turn it back over to Mrs. Guzman.
Thank you so much. I actually remembered to unmute myself. I often forget. So as you can see, we're putting a lot of thought in how to make this work. This isn't about us not wanting it to work. We really want this to work. We want it to work for all of our kids though. And we do have some students that need to still stay at home and we need to make resources available for them. We didn't want to get too far into the weeds with some of the things like what's going to happen if somebody does test positive, because that's all spelled out really clearly in the reopening COVID-19 guide that our district put out. So you can find this when we put out this presentation, you'll find this actually linked, but it's also already live on our district's website. And so this will give you, it's a mini page document that gives you very detailed answers to some of the questions that all of our schools are going to be having to address about the health and safety of our students. So I saved my last slide for, my best slide for last, sorry. We're a new school and we have not forgotten that and we are super excited about it. So we still have grand opening plans. They're not the ones we wanted, but they're definitely amazing. So we are working very hard with our student government right now to open our campus on October 12th and 13th with a campus tour, because the funniest thing when I met with our student government is a lot of them were saying, I don't even know where I'm gonna have to go when I get there, which completely makes sense to us. They haven't been here before. And we're going to have a physically distant stadium rally on those first 2 days. both days because we can't have all of the students here at once. We have a nationally known speaker coming in to address them and get them excited about the legacy that they're going to leave as West Park Panthers. So we are going to make it a great opening day, just like we would if it was a regular opening day. And moms and dads and grandparents and whoever else is listening, we want to have a community-wide grand opening. I would love to have you here, but right now that's pretty complicated because of the contact tracing requirement. So these events will not be currently open to adults, but as soon as possible, we will make sure that you're welcome to the campus as well. So we don't have a lot of questions, but I do see a few. So I'm going to turn to my question document here and answer a few. If you have, and we didn't put it on this last slide, so I'm going to go back to this one. If you have questions, I'm going to answer a couple of the ones from the general form right now. If you have questions even later, please submit them tonight because we will answer them on this document. We are not going to be answering the raised hands. It just makes the meeting go kind of long, and I want to make sure that I give you the best answer, and so I don't want to make guesses. So if you submit them to me, please, on the bit.ly, then we will ensure that those get answered in some format. Again, if they're very student specific, please submit them on the second one because we're going to have our counselors working through many of those in the next couple of days. But on the general one, I do see a couple of really good questions. So one thing is about PE. How will PE work in the hybrid model? So as a district, we have decided that we are not going to be opening our locker rooms. There's just too many, they're close quarters. It's very difficult to clean them and to ensure that things are disinfected. And so our students will not be dressing out for PE. So the PE class requirements will be things that they can do while in whatever street clothes they're in. We will ask that your student come relatively dressed for PE if they have PE. So obviously not wearing maybe a dress or not wearing things that are overly warm when it's still warm outside, things like that. The PE teachers, just like the rest of our teachers, will need to be addressing students that are live and students that are on Zoom and at home. So they're already meeting and trying to collaborate on how that's going to work best. But that definitely will be a bit of a shift to not have them dressed out. Additionally, we're being asked, same questions come up before, and I did say it, but I want to reiterate. When you make this decision before Wednesday, you're only making the decision through December. We will have another process that will start over to talk about January through the end of the school year in May. So please don't feel any pressure to make that decision right now. You're only making a decision for the rest of this fall semester. One of the questions that's come through is about how band will look. So I have to share with you, I zoomed into a couple different classrooms today and they were all amazing. It's a true joy to get to watch your students. I zoomed into our band teacher's class this afternoon. He has jazz band after school and they're working really hard. It will continue to look similarly. We are not able to return our band students to playing instruments on campus right now. It's something we're working with schools insurance group and the county on, but we're not there yet. And so right now students aren't able to play their instruments on campus, but we have purchased everything needed for our band students. So we have special flute shields. We have the bell covers for the ends of our instruments. So when they tell us we're a go, we have the things that we believe that they're going to tell us we have to put in place to do that. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to read the questions quickly. Where will students eat lunch if they're on the hybrid schedule? So students will be allowed to stay for lunch only with specific appointments with teachers for Hub. Students will not be eating lunch on campus in the model that is being presented. They will go to classes. They will be able to grab a lunch. Any student can take lunch from campus and then go home and then Zoom back in for Hub. If a particular student needs to keep a few students behind, we're going to be working out an appointment system because we would have to have them in a specific place for lunch. Our campuses just can't handle keeping kids distanced and safe and eating lunch, especially in inclement weather, and that is why this plan was developed. And so they won't be eating lunch on campus. One of the other questions that I'm seeing is, can we come for part of a day? and not the rest of the day. And no, you're committing to come periods 1 through 4 on campus. So if you're returning for hybrid, we want to see your student here periods 1, 2, 3, and 4. They can't say, I only want to come for half the day and then head home. They're going to be here the whole time during that time period. I also have had lots of questions about whether students can use the facilities here. When school is in session, our facilities will be open. When we start the hybrid model, our facilities cannot be open. None of our school facilities across our district or across most districts can be open right now because of the COVID concerns. So we won't be renting out facilities in the near future, but that will be forthcoming, I'm sure, eventually. Year-long classes. So let me address that really quick because we have a couple of questions about those. So we have some courses that are year-long. The every other day AP Euro English 10 block is an example. So that schedule, what that will look like on the hybrid is very similar. Your student will actually see their teacher live once a week. Normally they would see them live twice a week. It's half because it's the span of the year. So the goal is to keep those classes intact as we go into the spring, and that's something we're going to have to be addressing as we look at what the spring looks like. If you would like to understand the specific hybrid schedule for a course like that, we'll equip the teachers to share that information as we move forward, but they will be in a very similar situation, sometime with their teacher and sometime on Zoom. Sorry, I'm reading as quickly as I can here. This is a great question. I'm getting asked a lot of questions about whether or not I think that students should return. Are they going to be missing something? And I have to be completely honest with you and say, I feel like this is a very personal decision that each family has to make. Would I love to see each and every student back here? I absolutely would. Do I understand the health concerns for some families? I absolutely do. And so we will make our C group feel just as valued as our A and B group. There will be minimal things that are going on during the day. I mean, they're obviously going to see their classmates, physically see them, physically see their teachers, but we have to keep safety and health as our priority. And so there won't be activities where they're mixing during the day. We have to keep cohorts of students together for contact tracing. So do I think they'll be missing something? I think it's hard either way. And we want to make it the best decision. We want you to be able to make the best decision for your family. And that's why we spent so much time sharing information with you tonight. We will allow our C group students to attend events that we have. Anything that we do where it's a drive-by event or even our stadium rally, we're going to allow C groups of students to come that day if they sign up. So we don't want them to miss out on things, but we also understand that for some families that might work better right now for a variety of reasons. So as much as I would love to give you my opinion, I don't think that's appropriate at this point. I think it's a personal decision for each family to make. My family's making it for our children, and I know that you all will make the best decision for your children as well. Just know that A, B, or C group, we're here to help the learning, to help the growth, and we're going to support the best that we can. And we're going to work really hard to make education and safety equal priorities. Safety and health are obviously something that we really have to pay attention to right now, though. Great question. There's a great question in here. Will we be able to use the restrooms? Absolutely, you will be able to use the restrooms. But one thing I do want to share is that our drinking fountains have to be turned off. So we are going to ask that students bring their own hydro with water in it or water bottles, something like that. Obviously, we will have water here if a student needs water, but we will not be having our, we have tons of water bottle fillers all over campus, but they won't be on. So restrooms, yes, you need to bring your own water. And so hopefully because it's a condensed day, a student can carry enough water that they can use throughout the day. I definitely see a question. I know that there's been some concerns about how we're going to supervise classrooms without teachers, and then the district is working diligently on that. The idea of parent volunteers has been put out there, and they would have to be well trained. The question is about safety protocols and things like that. Yes, absolutely. We have the fortune of having some classrooms that we were able to group together. So we might have the ability to have a staff member always present amongst those, if those are covered by substitutes or parent volunteers, having an administrator locally or a campus monitor locally in case there was a need for additional site knowledge. So we are going to work through those plans. Each of the principals will be presenting at the board meeting tomorrow night. And one of the things that we're talking about is next steps. And next steps for us are, how do we cover the classes where we don't have a teacher present? And that's whether I know the teacher is not going to be present or not, right? Because if we have somebody that comes down with COVID related symptoms, we're going to be having to do that very quickly as well. So all of those things will be things that we're addressing in the coming weeks. I'm going to answer, it looks like there's 3 more really good questions on here in respect to time. I won't go too much longer than that. Is there a snack bar at school for the nutritional break? We will have our cafeteria services. So it will likely be kind of breakfasty items that students can have for snacks. So we will be doing full food service. It won't look the same way it normally does, and it won't look how we want it to in the future. We had great plans to have a very healthy salad bar on campus and things like that. Obviously, salad bars are probably the farthest thing from what we should have at this point, but we'll be working to provide healthy options for students during that nutritional break. Great questions here. Can Group C students come on campus for hub? Yes, they can. They would need to have a specific appointment with a teacher. And so our teachers will have the whole process set up in order to do that. So yes, they will not be told they cannot. They will have to participate in the health screening and have an appointment with a teacher so that we can keep them coming and going the way that we need to. Next question, what happens on passing period and distancing? So we have Mr. McGregor, one of our assistant principals, has drawn up great plans about how we will have students entering and exiting buildings. If you can picture the campus, picture students going in from the east side of buildings and exiting on the west side of buildings. We have 15-minute passing periods because we will be doing kind of a timed release so kids aren't walking into each other so that they're coming out of the hallways differently. We're going to ask students to stay 6 feet apart as they exit classrooms. When they get outside, we're going to ask them to continue to stay 6 feet apart. And if they're choosing to eat or whatever, they'll obviously need to spread themselves out in order to take off their masks and do so. So we have all of those protocols and we will release that. We have a video for students to watch. We had 10 great drama students come and help us alongside our drama teacher and our media teacher produce a video that we'll be sharing with students, as well as all of the plans about how we're going to enter and exit buildings to maintain safety. And so the students will move from class to class during the day, and they will sit in the same desk in each classroom each day, but there will be need to be cleaning in between because there will be students moving in and out of those classrooms. And this is also great. Students are asking what kind of supplies they're gonna need. And so we'll need to be getting some additional information out for you on that. Obviously, we will supply most items that students need, but there is definitely, we're gonna need to work on the sharing piece because they can't share things that they would normally share. And so, although we will provide everything needed, if there's a particular type of thing that a student wants, we will ensure that they have what we can provide them. You might want to provide something that's specific to them. An example of that would be when Mrs. Eisenhower was talking about earbuds. They will need earbuds. We will have a certain type of earbuds here that they can use and for their classes, but if they want something particular, then that would be something that you would want to provide for them. So I think that's probably, without looking at the list too deeply, I don't know if others on our panel have any questions they want to address, but I want to thank you. I have appreciated and will continue to appreciate the support you guys have shown the school. This is not what we wanted. And as you can see, we are always trying to smile because we love your students, and it's been a joy to be part of their Zoom classes and to see them learning and growing. I can't even imagine how much better it's going to be when they get here. So please remember, we're just at the beginning of the book and we're going to write a great book. And it's not the book we thought we were writing, but the better we work together, the better that book turns out in the end. And I hope that makes sense. When we say we value people, it means all people. We value parents. We know how hard this time has been. Many of us are parents ourselves, dealing with the very issues you're dealing with at home in our own families. We value our students, and we know they want to be here, and we know that they want to interact. And so we're going to make that the best that we can. The safer we keep it, the longer it lasts. And I think that's one of the really important pieces. And most of all, we love to learn, and it's a good thing we do because we've learned a lot. I think we've all learned a lot through this pandemic. So this information will be shared with you by noon tomorrow. I'm going to add as many answers to questions as I can in the middle of that. Please come to us. I know social media is a buzz, and you know what? In a lot of ways, it's super positive because I think great information is getting out there. If you're on social media and there's a lot of parents that have questions, and once this is up, please feel free to share it. Share the link to our website, because we want people to have the best information to make the best decisions for their families. That's what I would want, and that's what we're giving to you. So it's wonderful to look through this tiny camera at you. I can't wait to see all of your faces, and continue to submit questions throughout the evening on that bit.ly if you have any others that come up. And other than that, we will talk to you again very soon. We will definitely hold additional informational meetings prior to the opening of school on October 12th. I appreciate you, we value you, and we look forward to spending more time with you soon. Take care.